Welcome to our service of remembrance. I would like to welcome you. This is our monthly gathering, our time of remembrance here at John Knox Village. I am Reverend Dr. Bridget Sullinger, and I welcome you to our time together. I share our opening words. We come here today to remember and to share, because we have been the recipients of time and friendship. In all things in this time of remembrance, may we feel calm of heart, may we be blessed, and may we feel a sense of peace during this time, in this space, in all things. In honor of our Christian friends today, our readings come from the 23rd Psalm from the Old Testament, and our New Testament reading comes from the second letter of St. Paul to Timothy, chapter 2, verses 8 through 13. The 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup overfloweth. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. In a reading from the second letter of St. Paul to Timothy, chapter 2, verses 8 through 13. If we die with him, then we shall live with him. Remember the good news that I carry. Jesus Christ, risen from the dead, sprung from the race of David. It is on that account that I have my own hardships to bear, even to being chained like a criminal. But they cannot chain up God's good news. So I bear it all for the sake of those who are chosen, so that in the end they may have salvation that is in Christ Jesus and the eternal glory that comes with it. Here's a saying that you can rely on. If we've died with him, then we shall live with him. If we hold firm, then we will reign with him. If we disown him, then he will disown us. We may be unfaithful, but he is always with us. This is the word of the Lord. There are a few things that are usually said during funerals and memorials that seem to be repeated over and over. And there are some things that are touching, and I hope that in this time together that we will be able to touch your heart, thank you, and to ease your pain. That this time will allow you the opportunity to remember our friends, the ones that we cared about, with good thoughts and happy memories. While we are brought together for different reasons, our village here is what connects us and how our friendships developed. And in developing those friendships, we also developed and shared in a lot of memories. Now, being your new chaplain, I can't regale you with great stories of memories gone by, but what I can share is that each of these persons whom we are memorializing today, They were cared for, loved, a friend to others, and they will be missed. And our village changed for the better because they were here. We may not be able to choose our family. We get our neighbors by chance. However, friends and friendships develop because we want them to. We are fortunate to call these persons our friends. Our lives have been a reflection of their kindness and their friendship, and our neighborhood forever is knowingly shaped by who they were and what each of them meant to us, and what they did for us while they were here. Today, one of our friends, Mr. Henschel, will be remembered by his son, our organist, Mark Henschel.
Green shorts, green grass, and the Green Bay Packers, as is obvious here. These were things that James Harry Henschel loved. He was born November 14th, 1932, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. To me, Jim, as he was called by others, was simply Dad. Dad wore his favorite green shorts so many times before washing them, we wondered if his shorts were allergic to laundry detergent. He always took great pride in having a great-looking lawn at his home, fixing sprinkler heads and picking weeds so many, many times. The Green Bay Packers were a lifelong passion of his, and they became a passion of mine as a result of his love for them. We shared the good years as well as the bad years of the Packers with each other. I remember my first experience going with him to Lambeau Field, home of where the Packers played. We flew from Fort Lauderdale into Milwaukee and rented a car to travel north for the 2-hour trip to Green Bay. I remember that it was Halloween night and it began to snow. We didn't say much on that trip, but we both knew that we would have a great time with a father-son bonding experience. It would be my first time visiting Lambeau Field, but it would not be my last. Dad and I enjoyed a total of 4 Packers Super Bowl victories during his lifetime and mine, out of the 5 Super Bowl appearances that they made. In addition, Dad was a middle child who was a bit of a rascal growing up in Milwaukee. While his older brother and younger sister seemed more compliant, Dad would challenge his parents' rules and expectations. After graduating from Rufus King High School in Milwaukee at the age of 18, he enlisted for 4 years in the Air Force against the advice of his father. He was stationed first in Okinawa and then later on in Tucson. He served there as a weatherman. Dad used to say that he went into the military feeling that he knew everything, but once he got in, he found out how smart his parents really were. While in the Air Force, Dad began to take college courses towards a bachelor's degree in education. By the time he finished his time in the Air Force, he decided to go back home to Milwaukee, where he finished his degree at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. It was here that he found the love of his life, Leonore Etmeyer, at a dance. They were married in Milwaukee on June 14, 1958, and they were married for 62 years. Dad never liked cold weather, and so he moved himself, his wife, and me, at the time I was 9 months old, and not nearly this tall, to Fort Lauderdale in August of 1963. 4 years later, my sister Linda was born, and then 5 years later, my younger sister Marilyn was born. Both of them were born in Fort Lauderdale. My dad was a Christian, but he didn't preach the Bible to others. Instead, he lived his life using the Bible as his guide. When he went to church, he felt that it was important to be respectful to God and God's house by wearing a coat and tie. Even with the relaxed fashion standards of South Florida, he always dressed and looked his best when he went to church. For many years, Dad would go to a Lutheran church while my mom went to a Methodist church. However, in the last few years of his life, Dad finally became a member of the Methodist church where Mom had been a member for many years. It was great to see them both going to church together. Dad became the youngest person to ever be appointed as a principal for Broward County Schools at the age of 33. His first school appointment was at Eastside Elementary in 1965. He worked there until 1976. In that year, he requested and was appointed to Tamarack Elementary, a brand new school in Broward County. The school opened with 1,400 students, and Dad was the sole principal of that school. In those days, there were no assistant principals in elementary schools. Dad was the only principal for that school. Today, there would be at least 2 assistant principals to assist the principal with daily duties for a school that large. His teachers loved Dad because although he was strict with his expectations, he was always fair. He then transferred to McNabb Elementary School, where he retired in 1986 at the age of 54. Amazingly, Dad put in 32 years of credited service in the field of education, but actually enjoyed more years in retirement than the years that he worked in education. In 1979, Dad and Mom bought a piece of property in North Carolina. Dad took great pride in fixing up this place, doing various home projects. Every summer, in order to escape the summer heat of South Florida, he and Mom drove up to North Carolina together to stay in their place, which provided a beautiful view for them of Grandfather Mountain. It has been a source of great enjoyment for many years now, not just for them, but also for their 3 children and 3 grandchildren. I remember all of us spending the night there in the mountains in Dad's shed. He had a shed that was called Papa's Place, and in it he had quite a few tools that he used to fix up the property. All the kids and grandkids helped Dad do whatever he needed to do to keep the place in great shape. And sometimes we even spent the night in there, pretending different things. As a child growing up, Dad had a way of motivating me. I remember that he always encouraged me to do my best, especially when it came to school. When I decided to take German in high school, I remembered him saying that if I made all A's for that school year, he would take me to Europe. In case you are wondering, yes, I made straight A's and went to Europe with him. Although he came from a German family and could speak some German, he always had a respect for anyone who could speak more than one language. On another occasion, he motivated me to learn how to play Polonaise by Chopin on the piano to continue my piano studies. He valued music very much and was supportive of everyone in the family who played the piano or any musical instrument. Another example of motivating others was when my sister Linda was motivated to play Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. He asked her to play that perfectly to get a pair of track shoes that she really wanted to participate as a member of Northeast High School track and field team. She accomplished that and got her track shoes. Dad loved doing home improvement projects, jigsaw puzzles, investing in the stock market, owning real estate, playing bridge, doing crossword puzzles, listening to good music, and traveling. I was always amazed at all the places that Dad and Mom traveled and his ability to recollect the many experiences that he had traveling to all the destinations where he visited, even if it was many years prior. He visited every continent, including Antarctica. He used to say, they can take away your money, your house, and every single material thing that you own, but they can never take away your education or your travel experiences. The gift of travel he has given to all of his kids as well as his grandkids. One of Dad's greatest gifts to us, I believe, was his sense of humor. He had a great way of adding humor to many situations. Instead of a rehearsed comedy of jokes, his comedy revolved more around the current conversation. Dad leaves a wife, 3 children, and 3 grandchildren, as well as many friends and colleagues that he has worked with over the years. He would be pleased to know that he positively impacted all of us. He used to always say, when life deals you lemons, you need to make lemonade. He had the gift of always seeing the positive in every situation. Finally, Dad lived a full life. He fulfilled his own plans for every decade of his life, and although he is no longer with us physically, he is with me and many of us in spirit. I look forward to seeing him in heaven. I look forward to seeing him in heaven, where I am sure that God is telling him right now, well done, my faithful servant. Dad, thanks for being my dad. I'll see you in heaven.
Thank you, Mark. It was beautiful. In addition to Mr. Henschel, I would like to share, starting with Elizabeth D. Freeman. She was 97. She was a native of Brooklyn, New York, and she passed away on Saturday, July 11th, at the Woodlands here at John Knox Village. Elizabeth Dean Freeman met her husband William, with whom she celebrated 65 years of marriage on October 8th, 2014. She met him on a blind date. They built a house together and they lived in that home in Fort Lauderdale for more than 60 years before joining the John Knox Village family in November of 2001. The two became avid travelers who enjoyed cruises and cross-country road trips. She also enjoyed celebrating life events and milestones of her children and grandchildren. Elizabeth retired from teaching in 1977, and she was a member of Delta Delta Delta, the AASH, the Catholic Women's Guild, BCREA, and the Pan Bellenic. She enjoyed playing tennis, card games, singing in the choir, dancing, theater, and reading before her health declined. Mr. Freeman preceded her in death in October of 2014. Elizabeth was the daughter of Walter Niles and Georgiana Dean, and she is survived by son William Niles Freeman, daughter Marion Clark, grandson William Dean, and granddaughters Elizabeth, Emily, and Wilhelmina, and a great-granddaughter, Grace Freeman. May she rest in peace. Susan Gutman, age 77, born September 27, 1942, to Louis and Sarah Goppola in Brooklyn, New York. She passed away on June 24, 2020. Susan was married to Joel Gutman for 12 years before his passing. She lived in Mount Kisco, New York, and Fort Lauderdale for 18 years before she joined the John Knox family in 2010. She graduated in 1960 from Jamaica High and retired August 1st, 1984, as an office manager and bookkeeper. She belonged to the Bromeliad Society of Broward County, the Fort Lauderdale Orchid Society, and she volunteered as a ticket taker at the Broward Center for the Performing Arts. Now, Susan loved gardening, sewing, and enjoyed playing Sudoku, reading, traveling, and knitting. May she rest in peace. Arlene Helvey was 99 years old, and she quietly slipped away on July 5th to find the love of her life, Earl Helvey, who preceded her in death. She was a resident of John Knox Village since 1989, and for many years she volunteered at RAS and participated in charity walks. In September of 2008, she was inducted into the John Knox Village's Volunteer Hall of Fame. Now, Arlene enjoyed working seasonally in Michigan until she was 80 years old. She also continued driving until she was 90, which included all of those summer trips back to Michigan. Even after she decided it was time to hang up her keys, she still enjoyed traveling with the Isings Tours. Now, she took her last Islings trip at the age of 95. She had a lot of fun because that took her back to Mackinac Island in Michigan and a surprise family gathering. Her artistic talent shined in everything that she did: home decor, fashion trends, gardening, and culinary delights. She loved adventure, and she loved to travel. From cruises to domestic trips, she enjoyed exploring new places, but Florida became her home with yearly summer returns to Michigan to be with her family. May she rest in peace. Mary Jane Keane, age 92, of Pompano Beach, Florida. She passed away on Wednesday, July 1st, 2020. She was born December 30th, 1927 in Dayton, Ohio, to Clifford and Leona Graybill. She was married to her loving husband, Spurgeon Keane, for over 30 years before his passing in October of 2015. They previously lived in Lauderdale by the Sea for 14 years before joining the John Knox Village family in October of 1998. Now, before retiring in 1984, she was employed with the family retail business for 22 years and was a savings and loan bookkeeper for 10 years. She enjoyed reading, music, fill-in puzzles, and she was an amateur organist. Now, when asked what she loved most, she stated, being a good wife and a homemaker. May she rest in peace. Dr. Alexander Mulkin, age 91, passed away peacefully July 2nd, 2020. He's survived by his sister Agnes, 4 daughters, Susan, Kathleen, Claire, and Janet, and by 5 grandchildren, Claire, Kate, and Megan Whiteman, and Donovan and Christopher Casey. Now, Alex was born in Gary, Indiana, where his father worked in a steel mill, and his beloved mother, Mary, raised him and his 6 siblings. Now, during his high school years, Alex worked summers at the steel mill. He'd completed only 3 years at Indiana University when he was accepted to the Marquette College of Medicine in Wisconsin. Now, while in medical school, he worked at the Pabst Brewery to help pay the bills. And he was the first person in his neighborhood to become a doctor. Alex didn't come by privilege. He worked hard, and his ethics were what helped him to rise to the top of his profession. He grew up a faithful Catholic with boundless curiosity. In 1954, he received a commission to serve in the Air Force as captain at Smoky Hill Air Force Base in Kansas. During his time, he recalled flying to London in a B-47 bomber, relegated to sitting on the steps with a parachute. The medical experience that he gained while in the service, including delivering 5 babies in one day, set him to complete his residency training. He completed that in Brooklyn, New York, and his choice was fortuitous because there he met and married Janet, his beloved wife of 59 years. He successfully practiced medicine in Brooklyn and then in Montclair, New Jersey. Dr. Mulkin was a dedicated physician, loved by all of his patients and held in very high esteem by his peers. He had a genuine interest in his patients, in their stories, not just their medical problems. He will be remembered by his family and his friends as the man that you wanted in your corner in a crisis, and as a person of great intelligence, compassion, and wit. May he rest in peace. William Newt Moore. Now, Commander William Newt Moore, United States Navy, retired at the age of 84. He passed away peacefully on 30 of June 2020. Now, isn't that military? He was born in September of 1935 in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, to Andrew Norton and Verna Davenport Moore. He graduated from high school as the salutatorian of his class of 1953. After only 1 year at Vanderbilt, he received an appointment to the U.S. Naval Academy, graduating in 1958. He earned a Master's of Science degree in physics from the U.S. Naval Postgraduate School in 1965 and a Master's of Science in Information Systems from George Mason University in 1993. Newt retired from the Navy in 1978, and he continued to support various departments of defense, commands as a private contractor, and then he retired again in 2005. He is survived by his beloved wife, Nona Johnson Jordan, with whom he traveled to every continent and over 70 countries. He's also survived by 4 children: Catherine McCormick, Teresa Moore, Paul Moore, John Moore, 2 stepdaughters, Kristen Collins and Jennifer Jordan Grote, and 12 grandchildren. His sister Ann Moore Hancock predeceased him earlier this year. May he rest in peace. Benito P. Moya, age 84 of Pompano, here at John Knox, passed away Tuesday, June 30th, 2020, at the Catholic Hospice, Holy Cross Hospital, Fort Lauderdale. Now, Mr. Moya was born in Cuba to Benito and Ramona, and he spent his career as an electrical engineer in the oil industry. He's survived by his longtime friends, Martin Casanova, Frank Bellina, and many other friends. Benito was known to his friends here at John Knox as a kind man and a man who would always listen. And his friends all related that Benito was the one that they could always rely on. May he rest in peace. Richard Thomas Nolan, age 83, passed away in Pompano on July 4th, 2020. His partner, Robert Charles Pingpank, was his partner since September 14th, 1955, and their 50-year anniversary was blessed at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine in New York City in 2005. They were legally married June 4th, 2009, at the beautiful Trinity College Chapel in Hartford, Connecticut. Richard was born in 1937 to the late Elizabeth and Thomas Nolan, Jr., and he held dual citizenship with the United States and the Republic of Ireland. His career spanned decades in which he contributed to institutions of higher learning, always imparting many years of wisdom and knowledge from his advanced degrees. Now, the majority of his career was as a professor of philosophy and social sciences at Naugatuck Valley State College, Connecticut. He was also an author, editor, and contributor to books, academic papers, and even broadcast media. At the time of death, he was retired honorary canon of Christ Church Episcopal, Hartford, Connecticut, and pastor emeritus of St. Paul's Episcopal in Bantam, Connecticut. Now, Richard and Robert participated in St. Andrew's Episcopal in Lake Worth and the Palm Beach Human Rights Council. He leaves his spouse and many other family members and many friends to cherish in his memory. May he rest in peace. Anthony M. Ruggiero, age 83, passed away on July 11, 2020. Tony was born in New York City on June 21st of 1937. Completing his parochial education there, he went on to cosmetology school, and he became a very well-known stylist in Scarsdale, New York. He moved to Florida in 2003 and then lived in Fort Lauderdale with his partner, George Clark. George and Tony became part of the John Knox Village family in June of 2018. Tony began learning duplicated bridge and often participated in duplicate bridge competitions. He made many friends, not just at bridge, but also in the Heritage Towers and in the social events here at John Knox Village. He's survived by his son and daughter-in-law, Anthony and Lori, 3 grandchildren and 3 great-grandchildren, and his loving partner, George Clark. May he rest in peace. Robert E. Todd passed away on Sunday, June 28, 2018 at John Knox Village. Robert was born February 10, 1921 in Van Wert, Ohio, to Carl W. Todd, and he lived in Wilton Manors, Gainesville, Miami, and Van Wert, Ohio. However, he called Pompano Beach, Florida, home for 48 years. Before he and his wife became a part of this family here at John Knox Village in December of 2003. Robert served in the United States Army during World War II with the 320th Engineer BN and the 95th Infantry Division, and he was a very prominent architect-assisted building official here in Pompano Beach, Florida, and he retired in November of 1996. He was a member of the American Institute of Architects, the Elks, Disabled American Veterans, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, Pompano Civic Association, Pompano Historical Society, and he volunteered with the Pompano Beach Historical Preservation Committee. Robert enjoyed woodworking and orchids, and when asked what he enjoyed doing the most, he would say, being sociable, and he was. His loving wife, Helen, of over 65 years, preceded him in death in September of 2017. He's survived by 2 sons, Richard and Gregory, grandchildren, Laura, Hillary, Adam, and great-grandchildren, Connor, Sadie, and Paige, and 4 other great-grandchildren. May he rest in peace. When we share these readings and these life stories about our friends. It's a time to connect with what they meant to us, but it's also a time to reflect on the lives that they lived and the lives that we were able to share with them. Our organist, Mark Henschel, will now offer our organ solo for your time of reflection. was beautiful. Our final reading includes a quote by Stephen Grellett and a poem by Robert Frost. I shall pass through this world but once. Any good, therefore, that I can do, or any kindness that I can show to any human being, let me do it now. Let me not defer or neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again. And a poem by Robert Frost titled The Road Not Taken. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth, then took the other as just as fair and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing, there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. We've come to our time of final remembrance, and I invite you, as you hear the names and the organ chimes, that you find a sense of peace in saying goodbye. Elizabeth Freeman. Susan Gutman. Arlene Helvey. James Henschel. Mary Jane Keane. Dr. Alex Mulkin. William Newt Moore. Benito Moya. Richard Nolan. Anthony Ruggiero. Robert E. Todd. May our friends rest in peace. Receive the closing words. May all of your memories be kind. May you depart in the knowledge of peace and understanding of hope. May you depart with a glad heart, and may peace be with you. Thank you for sharing your time to memorialize our friends. The best to each of you in your sadness and in your memories. Amen. Thank you.